Hi friend, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be the results of lifting weights for 30 days. And before you get too excited, I want to make some things very clear off the top. One, this was not about weight loss for me. So if you're here to see numbers on a scale, I hate to break it to you, you're not going to see that. I stopped weighing myself about a year ago after I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to get back to my pre-pregnancy weight, only to accept the fact that like my body's changed, and that's okay. I'm an adult woman. I am not 16 years old anymore, and to expect my body to be the same as it was when I was a teenager was not a healthy mindset for me. So I let that go. And with that, I let go of weighing myself on the scale. So if you're looking for numbers on the scale, I hate to break it to you, that's not in this video. Additionally, how do I phrase this? I wanted to do this for a couple of reasons. The first being I needed to kind of like jumpstart myself out of a rut that I was in. And the rut wasn't necessarily an exercise rut, it was just a general rut. I was in a rut with my mental health, my physical health, just my motivation and discipline. All of that was just kind of lacking a little bit, which is very out of the norm for me. But if you've been following my videos at all this year, then you know much of this year I've been experiencing things that are a little out of the norm for me. So that was kind of why I started the challenge in the first place. And I don't know what I was expecting from it. I don't know that I was expecting anything other than to kind of rewire my brain a little bit. It seems silly to say this now, that I wasn't necessarily expecting my body to change, because obviously this was a physical challenge, but I did notice my body changing. Is it anything monumental? I'll let you guys decide, but it is enough that I'm like, oh, okay. Basically, I essentially accidentally put to the test, is something better than nothing? Because here's the other thing that I want to make very clear at the top of this video, so that you know if this is content that you want to consume. If you're here for like a hardcore workout challenge, this isn't that. If you're somebody that, how do I put this in a way that doesn't make me look terrible? I essentially put in, I don't want to say bare minimum effort, because I was showing up every day, but I was starting out at the ground, right? Like I was not a physically fit person prior to this. I was not a strong person. If you've been consuming my content since this time last year, then you know at the start of 2024, I was in the hospital for several days for a pretty severe back injury that I have essentially been rehabbing for the entire year. So I was very hesitant and very nervous to get back into any kind of weightlifting because I didn't want to re-injure myself. So I was going into it with the understanding that I was gonna kind of take it easy, because easy is really all I could do, because I would not classify myself as a strong person prior to this challenge. Additionally, while I was showing up every day, I wasn't putting very stringent restrictions on what I considered showing up, because there were some days that I was coming at it with more energy than others. And so I was willing to do a different type of workout than I was on the days that I really had to like convince myself to pick up a weight when all I wanted to do was go climb in bed and go to sleep. So I essentially accidentally tested the theory of, is something better than nothing? And spoiler alert, the answer is yes. So if you're somebody in a similar situation like me, where I'm the kind of person that typically looks at things that I'm not giving my all to as a waste of time, and then that ends up keeping me very stuck in an inactive position in my life. And that's kind of where I've been for a while now, because it's just my personality type to go real hard, real fast. And then what happens, I've shared this before, is I either fail, I bite off more than I can chew, I burn out, whatever it is. And if I slightly fail, then I just give up altogether, because I'm like, well, I failed, so whatever, like move on. I didn't want to do that with this. For me, the challenge was just consistency. So what was the challenge? I wanted to challenge myself to lift weights 5 days a week for an entire month. So for an entire series of 30 days, I lifted weights 5 days a week. And I did not put a time restriction the weightlifting video that I was doing. All the videos I used were from YouTube. I'll have them linked down below. And there were some days that I did 25-minute videos. There were some days that I did 10-minute videos. There were other times that I was doing a longer duration video and I stopped midway through for whatever reason. On top of that, I feel like it's important that I make some very clear statements about protecting your body and listening to your body. Because again, I was injured at the start of this year. It actually is an injury from 2 years ago, but anyway, I was extremely aware of how my body was responding to the workouts that I was doing. And because this is a video-led, self-inflicted challenge, there was nobody in the room with me to make sure that my posture was correct or my form was good. So I was just very cognizant of how my body was feeling while doing the challenge. The only things that I experienced that I was like careful about was at one point my left gluteus was very, very strained, and that was not pleasant, but it wasn't anything that I couldn't work around. And then at one point, something in this arm, and this arm is still quite sore, something in this arm was pulled or strained or whatever, but again, nothing that I couldn't somehow work into the challenge. Okay, something I would be really curious to know about, so I understand if you are as well. Did I do anything else? Did I do anything else through those 30 days? The answer is no. I did not change my diet. In fact, I started this challenge just before Thanksgiving, which then like launched us into the 2-month period of time in which you're just consuming more of all of the wonderful things than you probably ever consume throughout any other part of the year. So no, I did not change my diet. This is not the time of year that I'm gonna be changing my diet. I ate honestly probably more than I would have, certainly more treats and things like that, especially because it was like my nephew's birthday, my husband's birthday, Thanksgiving, Christmas treats, all of those kind of things. Like Christmas, as I'm filming this, is like 2 days away. So no, I did not change my diet. I did not introduce any other type of fitness either. I was not getting 10,000 steps a day even most days. It's the winter time, so spending time outside is less, and my walking pad that I normally use is stuck behind the couch, unable to be used at the moment because of where we have our Christmas tree. So no, I did not introduce any other factors into this. The only thing I was doing was lifting weights 5 days a week, 30 days. Before we get into the before and after results, I did want to very quickly share a couple of unexpected benefits to doing this challenge. Again, as I started, this was not about weight loss, and I did want my body to change, but I didn't necessarily expect my body to change, mainly because I didn't think it was going to be enough to change my body. Mostly what I wanted to have happen was to pull myself out of that rut. And I will say that it did do that. That was definitely like the primary goal of this challenge, was to just get myself to start doing something, anything. And I am a firm believer of a body in motion stays in motion. It just kind of kick-started my mental and cognitive ability to stomach the idea of doing things, which I realize as I'm saying that sounds, if you don't understand it, then you're not gonna understand it. But if you do understand it, then you're my kind of person right now. Because I just couldn't, it was almost like executive dysfunction. Probably need to look further into that. But like, I knew everything that I needed to be doing, but I was just like stuck and I couldn't. And so I made myself do this one thing. And by making myself do this one thing, I then somehow started like a domino effect of being able to do other little things. I think it was also extremely helpful, like I mentioned before, that I wasn't putting these grand expectations and requirements on what the workouts looked like. I was just showing up, and I was then somehow able to apply that same perspective and mindset to other things in my life. And as somebody who's been a perfectionist their entire life, and oftentimes will allow that to stop me from doing certain things, because if I can't do it perfectly, then I don't want to do it. Having the ability to just be like, okay, just do it. It doesn't matter if it's great or not. It doesn't matter if it's great or not the first time you do it. Just do it. By doing it with this workout challenge, it did also allow me to apply that same principle to other things in my life. And so it did really jumpstart exactly what I was hoping that it would jumpstart. Additionally, a very unexpected benefit to doing this challenge was how much I found myself wanting to do it, and how much I found myself finding enjoyment in it. In the actual act and practice of doing it, I was very surprised at how good I felt after doing it, especially on the days that I had to do like a lot of mental gymnastics to convince myself to show up. It was easy for me, or easier, let me just put a little asterisk on that. It was easier to convince myself to show up because it could be a more modified version of the workout. It could be a 10-minute video. I didn't have to put my all into it. I just had to go into the room and pick up the weights. That's what I had to do. And especially on the days that it was really hard for me to convince myself to do it. Once I was doing it, I no longer felt that way, which is just a lesson I think we should take into pretty much everything else we do in our lives. Once I was in the act of doing it, I no longer felt like I didn't want to do it. It was just the act of like getting started, which again, like we could apply that to so many things. But also how proud I felt of myself once I had completed the workout. Like once the moment those words "done" showed up on the YouTube screen, I had this like, oh, pat yourself on the back. And especially right now in the season of life that I'm in where I'm having a really hard time, I really appreciated having, I don't know, like something that I could check off a box or feel proud of myself for doing. I'm gonna be stalked by a golden retriever for the remainder of this video. But that was definitely like an unexpected benefit and one I'm really grateful for because I feel like it taught me a very valuable lesson in a lot of things. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the before and after because I know that's what you're probably most excited to see. With the before, I, at this stage in my life, had been doing very little physical activity. I definitely wasn't getting 10,000 steps a day. I wasn't going for walks every day like I used to. I certainly wasn't running. I haven't gone running in a very long time. So the state of my body was definitely like at its most sedentary that I've been in a long time. I had also gotten into a habit of eating really poorly just because when my mental health goes south, so does my desire to take care of myself, and I find comfort in food. I feel like most people do. Okay, and here is the after. Again, I don't know that there's any kind of monumental difference. I don't see anything significant different. If you see something significant different that I'm not seeing, please let me know in the comments below. I don't see anything that where I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, my body looks completely different. I'm fully transformed. And again, that really wasn't what I was going for with this. Obviously, I would have loved to have seen it, but I do notice little things here and there, which is not a bad thing to see. Okay, let me know if you see something that I'm not seeing. I do notice very little difference in my body, but again, little difference is better than no difference, which I guess ultimately determines that doing something is better than doing nothing. So if that's the only thing you can take from this video, I would encourage you to think of something and maybe make it as little of a something as you can possibly stomach the idea of doing that you can tell yourself you can consistently stick with. Because again, for me, it was just a matter of like staying consistent. And it is a really valuable lesson to learn that being consistent with something small can still have results versus trying to go too hard, too fast, and then bailing on it. Obviously, you're gonna see more results from being consistent. So I have this, dogs. My whole zoo is making it very impossible for me to get this video done, and I literally sent the toddler out of the house with his dad because I was like, I need to film this video. Little did I know I needed him to take all of the creatures with him too. Okay, ultimately, my thoughts on this whole challenge are I'm very glad that I did it. I would encourage you to do something like it. I would argue that it was probably one of the better things I did for myself this year, and I'm really glad to have done it here in the very last quarter of the year because I feel like it has set me up to go into the new year with a whole different mindset of how I want to approach things. I recently did a live on TikTok with a good friend that I met as my Uber driver on Michigan for the book ball that I did. And we were doing a live. She's a transformation coach. And the perspective that she offered me at that time is something that's kind of been like lingering in the back of my mind since then. And it really just sort of took shape for me doing this challenge, and I think it's a really good thing to take into the new year, is instead of saying you're gonna try something, because I feel like using that language gives us almost like the out, right? Like it gives us an immediate out, and it tricks our brain into thinking that we're doing something when we're not actually doing it because we tried. Just give it a go. Just give it a go. see where you get, and what's the worst that's gonna happen. For this whole challenge, if I saw not one single change in my body at the end of this, which you can tell me if you did or not, because it's still debatable whether I can see any difference. Maybe I'll see it more when I'm looking back at the footage. But if nothing else came of it, it shifted my brain. It changed my perspective, and it altered how I approach my day-to-day and how I approach bigger projects moving forward. And if there's nothing else that I can leave you with, like, my goodness, if there's nothing else that you take from my channel, from me, from this video, whatever, is I just want you to give yourself the permission to give it a go. Whatever it is, give it a go, see how it goes, see how you feel, modify, change it as you need to. What is it? Test and change. If you put yourself too firmly inside of a box, there's not very much room for growth. So just give it a go. That's gonna be it for me today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next year. Bye. I'm gonna be honest, I almost didn't film this for a number of reasons. The primary one being, I literally just started my period. So who wants to be showing off any kind of progress on their body when they just started their period? So take that for what it is as you're looking at these results, because if you know, you know.